I said back in mid-April that we should be getting back to work on May Day. That was the 1st of May. That was 7 weeks ago. I was saying that. 7 weeks in which many small businesses will have unnecessarily been destroyed, many jobs will have been lost, and many people may have lost their homes or even worse. And still, the moronic Queensland government and the treacherous Victorian government keep on with their insane destruction of their and your economies. Scott Morrison made a speech at the National Press Club in Canberra during the week, where he urged Australia to get back to work. And he used an excellent metaphor to describe how Australia needs to focus on its recovery. He told the story of when he visited the yachting headquarters of Team New Zealand once, when they were preparing to challenge for the America's Cup.
And we sat around on rickety old chairs, and there was this scuffed up table. The office looked like it had been saved from demolition. I noted the surroundings, and Alan responded by saying, in Team New Zealand, you only ask one question: what makes the boat go faster? Those chairs weren't going to make any difference, nor their accommodations. And their united and focused effort brought a whole country together.
Whatever makes the boat go faster. That's the slogan that this government and indeed this country should be adopting. As every world-class skipper knows, it comes down to the tiniest details. Every nut and every bolt must be made lighter and more efficient. Every object or every piece of equipment either serves a critical purpose or it's jettisoned. And as for all those nice creature comforts, forget it. If it doesn't make the boat go faster, it goes overboard. And Scott Morrison even clearly explained correctly what the finishing line in this race is.
That is the change agenda of our job-making plan, to enable Australia to emerge from this crisis and set up Australia for economic success over the next 3 to 5 years.
Good stuff. Now, as far as captains go, I'm mainly on board with Skipper Morrison. He's infinitely better than the bloke who preceded him, Malcolm Turnbull, but that's not really all that difficult, seeing as he was the worst Prime Minister Australia has ever had. And as poll after embarrassing poll points out, our Prime Minister is infinitely preferable to Labor's alternative, Anthony Albanese. But again, that's setting the bar, well, I shouldn't be mean, but not very high. By and large, Morrison's instincts appear pretty good. He's handled the coronavirus well, and he has a much better grasp on the economic crisis than the buffoonish premiers, in particular Genghis Dan Andrews and Border Patrol Palaszczuk. So why is Scott Morrison then ignoring his own sound advice? Rather than stripping the boat down and jettisoning all the unnecessary flim-flam, he's loading us up with more and more ballast. Suddenly he wants to involve the unions and business groups in round-table talks seeking consensus. And he wants to keep all the Inspector Clouseau-like premiers in a new national cabinet.
First step is to get everyone back in the room, to bring people together. That's our job. And in particular, that's my job.
Well, I beg to differ, Prime Minister. Bringing people together is what preachers and pop stars do. Your job is the one given to you by the Australian electorate just over a year ago, and that is to return us to surplus. We have an adversarial system of government in this country for very good reason. Some ideas are terrific, normally conservative ones, and some ideas are plain rubbish, normally left-wing and green ones. So why on earth would you invite that very mob onto your boat?
Membership of each group will include employer and union representatives, as well as individuals chosen based on their demonstrated experience and expertise, and that will include especially small businesses, rural and regional operators, multicultural communities, women, families.
Hardcore left-wing ballast, rent-seeker ballast, virtue signalling ballast, and for good measure some extra woke ballast crammed into the forecastle. The only people who won't be able to hop on board this trip is obviously any genuine small business people, because they will be far too busy simply trying to keep their businesses afloat to have time to toddle along to some Canberra gabfest shindig. Worse, the Prime Minister made the bizarre claim that both sides of politics are guilty of the malady, that means sickness, of ideology. So he's ditching his own ideology, which should B, smaller government, less regulation, lower taxes, crushing the unions and freeing up the job market in favour of some grand Bob Hawke-style wafflorium, with a couple of Marxists, 2 premiers, 2 unionists, 2 business groups, 2 feminists, 2 climate nutters, 2 lovies. Scott Morrison's fast boat will end up about as swift and lean as Noah's Ark.